Hi, I build nether highways. Usually, I'm the one responsible for building a network of them on all the servers that I play on. I'm gonna be explaining as I go why I like to build my highways in this particular way, so it could end up being a bit long and rambly. Excuse me. But at the end, I'll do a quick block-by-block recap just for easy following along. You could skip to this timestamp if you just want that. So first off, my nether highways are built at Y100. For iceboat highways, obviously you want to keep them at the same Y level since boats can't really go up or down stairs. I've seen people like do it on the nether roof or do it down at like Y80 because that's closer to where portals usually spawn. I personally just like Y100 because it keeps the highway out of the way from people just doing their usual nether stuff. Most importantly though, Y100 is just really easy for me to remember and communicate. The highways I build are basically just alternating ice and slab blocks with railings on the side. I'm gonna build an isolated piece here. It's basically just this repeating. It's really simple to remember. Aside from that, I like to place torches every like 5 blocks or so, just for lighting and decoration. Doing some math, I've made this shulker box to carry with me while making the nether highways. It's just been the most reliable. This kit doesn't include torches though, so you're gonna have to remember to bring some logs and coal. So going back to the nether, let's continue out this highway. To start out building the highway, I'm gonna lay down the deep slate tiles first, so I have ground to work with. It's 3 blocks wide, and I'm gonna build out a little stretch of it first. You can use any blocks you want for this really, just as long as you make sure it's like gas proof. I personally like deep slate tiles. The sound it makes when you place it down makes my monkey brain go, "Ooh yes, strong rock." I don't recommend going out more than like maybe 30 to 40 blocks. Because when you start going more than 24 blocks away, piglins and hoglins can start spawning on this platform. Like, it's not spawn-proofed right now, but it will be once you've built this part of the highway on top of it. After I finish that, I'll place down these deep slate stairs just along the edges. And obviously, be careful not to walk off the edge. Once I finish the stairs, I'll go back and add torches to the outside of these stairs every 5 blocks. Now you can do that by counting, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks and place down a torch like that. But I found it much more consistent to use F3 and keep an eye on the targeted block cords here. We're building along the x-axis. As you can see, I'm walking along it, it's changing. So if that number is divisible by 5, then you want to place a torch on that block. So 195, 200, 205, you know, and so on. This is really good for preventing those mistakes where you're like 1 block off and then you have to go back and redo everything else because now everything else is also off by 1 block. Once I've done that, I'll just do it for the other side by just referencing where the torches are on the other side. After I have the torches down, I'm going to be placing half slabs every other block to make it look kind of like a railroad track of sorts. I'm going to make sure that the half slabs are on even number blocks in the targeted block. Now you might ask, isn't this a bit unnecessary because it's a little hard to make a mistake when it's like every other block? And yeah, that's true, but this method does actually have another use. If I start building the highway from this end, I can be sure the pattern still lines up. So see, this is an even number block, so I place a slab, and once I fill this in, it lines up. Being able to build the highway from both ends is super useful because it cuts down on time spent like running back and forth while building. Once I finish the slabs, I'm gonna go back and fill in the gaps with packed ice. Since I'm low on blue ice, I usually reserve it for the main highways. Blue ice is 55% faster, but you're usually not traveling for like any longer than 10 seconds or so it's not a big deal. Also, I find for blue ice it's really easy to like accidentally spin out and miss your destination versus packed ice. It's a little easier to control. The buttons on the ice are mainly for spawn proofing, but also as a secondary function they let me tell which way the highway was built. It's subtle, but the button has a directional texture depending on which way you place it, so I always face away from the connecting point while placing these down. This is to make sure if I get like really lost in my nether highway system, I can always use these directional buttons to find my way back to the nether hub. I've also made it in my texture pack so when you press the button it makes a little arrow so I can actually like be sure of which direction to go really clearly. But with the default Minecraft texture pack, I like to look for that one light pixel in the top left corner as a guide for which way the button is facing. I've gotten really badly lost in my own nether highway systems before, so this is just like double insurance for me to make sure I don't have that happen again. And for the last step, I build the glass railings. Now glass might seem like a bit odd of a choice because it's like, hang on, didn't you want this highway to be gas proof? Isn't glass like famously not explosion proof? And yeah, unfortunately it can be blown up by gas. Deep slate walls might seem like the obvious choice, but when you make an intersection with deep slate walls, say like here, it makes a little fence post kind of thing, which actually has a hitbox that intersects with boats, and it makes you get caught on corners, and it's really annoying. For glass panes though, when they turn corners, they're just completely smooth, so it's perfect for if you want to just cruise by intersections without being forced to stop at every single one. This might be a bit precarious for most folks, but I also like having the glass panes to walk on. Walking on the main road is a bit, like, uncomfortable. When I sprint jump on the main road, I, like, stub my toe every 3 blocks. It's kind of annoying. Glass is smooth and it's easy to jump on because it's not a wall or a fence. You can just go 1 block up. And as a bonus, when you're in a tunnel, you can do the jump mashing thing for extra speed. Anyway, yeah, that's your nether highway. But what do we do once we reach a wall? Well, we dig through it, obviously. So when you're digging through netherrack, it's a little less precarious to build, thankfully. Because of that, I usually don't bother with the deep slate tiles past like a few blocks into the terrain. To fit everything, I dig out a 3 wide, 4 tall rectangle. And again, I'm gonna make sure I go out just like 30 to 40 blocks just to make sure nothing spawns while I'm out here. I'll then double back and dig out these 2 wings. This is where the torches are gonna be going. So you're gonna be digging out a tunnel in this weird shape. When I'm in netherrack, I actually like to place the torches first, just so I'm not like walking up all over stairs when I'm trying to place torches. Then I just build the same highway as usual, placing down the stairs and the slabs, fill in the gaps with ice and buttons. Stone cutter. And then finally the glass panes. And then I'll just repeat this until I get to my destination. Oh my god, wait, I was right there. Actually, this is a good opportunity to talk about connection points. So I try to make my connection points at round numbers. You can see it's at 300, 100 right here, negative 100. That's just so it's easier for me to remember and consolidate highways. One thing I do regret about that is building the ice blocks on odd numbers and the slabs on even numbers though, because that means the intersections have to look like this, and it's a little bit ugly to me. But intersections are just really easy. You basically just make the stairs do the corner things over here, and everything else should just line up. There was a reason why I chose odd numbers for the ice blocks and even numbers for the slab blocks, but it's related to how I learned animation. So animators animate at 24 FPS, but usually they only draw every other frame and just have it hold for an extra frame, so it's more like 12. So since you draw every other frame for animation, you make your drawings on the odd numbered frames. That's why I put my ice on the odd numbered coordinates. It's because I was thinking about them like they were like frames of an animation. It's really stupid. But yeah, next time I build nether highways, I'm gonna be putting ice on even blocks for sure. And that finishes up our highway. Now you'll probably notice that I only spend deep slate tiles when I'm building over open air and not when digging through netherrack. So you'll probably have quite a bit left over. You can recycle this into your next construction kit refill, or if you feel like that's a waste, you can just bring raw deep slate and a stone cutter. That way you can actually still use the deep slate for other components like stairs and slabs, because with deep slate tiles, unfortunately, you can't make them into bricks again. I personally like having the materials crafted though, because it's a lot easier for me to just like take it out and just start building immediately. Anyway, now that this highway's built, I just have one thing left to do. Here we are, this is the Nether Highway map. I built this as extra insurance that nobody on the server would get lost in the highway system. I'm really happy with this building, but I'll talk about it in another video. For now though, let's update the Nether Highway map. There we go. Nether Highway complete. Anyway, thanks for sticking around. Let's do a quick recap. Take the shulker box kit with you, one for every 192 blocks you plan to build. Bring coal and wood for torches too. Find your desired intersection or start point, and try to make that coordinate as round of a number as possible. If it's an intersection, break the slab, stair, and pane and replace the slab and stair with ice, then start building out. Building through terrain. With your eye level at Y101, dig a 3 wide 4 tall tunnel. Go back and make 1 block grooves at eye level on either side. Use targeted block in the F3 menu. Look at the coordinate you're traveling along and place a torch in the wings every 5th block. Place lines of stairs in the tunnel corners below the torches, facing inwards. Put slabs every other block between the stairs on even coordinates. Put packed ice or blue ice between the slabs with buttons on top. Finish with glass pane railings on top of the stairs. Building over open air. Deep slate tile platform, 3 wide. Stairs on either side facing inwards. Torches on the backs of the stairs every 5th block. Slabs on every other block, even coordinates. Ice and button on top between the slabs. Glass pane railings on top of the stairs. Okay, thank you, bye.